Hello, BookTube. Who's up for a little mail? I got a fairly sizable mail delivery first thing this morning and just went about my day. I just left the stack of packages just sitting there because I was all caught up reading. But this is more stuff to read. So let's go through here and see what we can find. There are no boxes, but we'll hope for the best. Oh. Oh, what's the matter? What? All right, what have we got here? Oh, okay, great. I requested this. This is a debut, I think. This is... what have we got here? Comes out in paperback in October, later this month. This is Evergreen Tidings from the Baumgartners by Gretchen Anthony. And it's got the deckled edges and the French flap cover. I'm really hoping that it comes out like this. I mean, this is a lovely thing to have on your shelf. I'm hoping that it does. But let's see. For some reason, I had it in my mind that this did not come out this year. But it not only comes out this year, it comes out in a week. So I can get to read it. I can read it tonight. Let's see here. The author introduces a dauntless matriarch who is blindsided by the discovery that her perfect family is all too human. Violet has been using this distinctive greeting from her annual holiday letter for more than 30 years, and the greeting is Evergreen Tidings from the Baumgartners. Of course, she has always been too modest to brag excessively, but these informative messages have chronicled her enduring commitment to her good-natured husband, Ed, his illustrious career as a world-class scientist, and the life they have both worked so hard to achieve. Clearly, Violet has navigated the challenges of modern motherhood, where sadly so many of her peers have faltered. Charisse, her brilliant daughter, is on track to excel her father's considerable success, and if some see her as a pillar of the community, who is she to argue? I sense a fall coming. Let's see here. This year's letter, with Ed's imminent retirement party as its focal point, is already drafted. Violet has spent 2 months orchestrating every last detail of the affair to ensure a fitting tribute for her distinguished spouse. It's quite a spectacle indeed, only not the way she envisioned. 200 guests, including some of Minnesota's greatest minds, watch in rapt fascination as the spotlight in the elegant room shifts. All eyes turn to Violet, who realizes suddenly that Charisse has been keeping a big secret. She and her partner Barb are expecting a baby. In the aftermath of this revelation, Violet frets that the family's impeccable veneer doesn't look quite so shiny. It falls on her shoulders to keep up appearances, silence the gossip, and preserve the good name. True, she prefers to remain ignorant about Charisse and Barb's relationship in general, but how, Violet wonders, could her only daughter have left her in the dark about something so important? And what about the delicate matter of paternity? Talk about opening a Pandora's box. Okay, so this sounds like a fairly lighthearted family romp. And it comes out soon. And it comes out in a nice, sturdy trade paperback. That's wonderful. Okay, well, so that's Evergreen Tidings from the Baumgartners. I need to get to it right away. So let's see what we have next. I started off with a novel. I don't know that will hold true. Oh my. Okay. Alright. No pub sheet for this. This is not my only copy of this book. Okay. Alright. This is going to be tough. This is an author I really like. It's an author I really respect, but he has been doing something lately that I don't understand much at all. This is Thomas Mallon, and this is Landfall, a novel about George W. Bush and Hurricane Katrina. I don't have a pub sheet, so let's see here. That's kind of sort of what it's going to look like. It won't have this fake black binding, but at the center of this story is a president whose high speed shifts between charm and petulance, resoluteness and self-pity, energize and mystify those around him, including his acerbic and crafty mother, former First Lady Barbara Bush, the desperately correct but occasionally unbuttoned Condoleezza Rice, the gnomic and manipulative Donald Rumsfeld, and the caustic observer Ann Richards, Bush's predecessor as governor of Texas. And bringing the new era vividly to life are a gallery of political and media figures, from the widowed Nancy Reagan to the philandering John Edwards to the brilliant contrarian Christopher Hitchens. So not only is this novel going to fictionalize Barbara Bush and Ann Richardson, it's also going to fictionalize Christopher Hitchens by name. That's just mind-blowing. The story is deepened and driven by two Texans, one a true believer and the other a skeptic, whose destinies have been affixed to Bush's ever since they were teenagers in the 1970s and caught up in a romantic and political drama that will alter history. And this is of a line with what Thomas Mallon has been doing recently. He has been doing historical novels about recent events, about recent presidents. It's daring. And there's no pub sheet here. I don't think this comes out until next year. But I haven't known quite what to make of some of the earlier, the Nixon one in particular, of course, drove me batty, and I didn't know quite what to make of it. I don't know, I guess, what his philosophical or political angle is in writing these. Maybe he doesn't have one, but he'd be the only person on earth who doesn't have one, so I kind of doubt that. Instead, as with all sort of political or topical novels, part of you is wondering while you're reading it what the author's getting at. And that's a disservice to the work because, of course, when you're reading a novel, you should be concerned with how effective it is, not what the author was thinking when he was writing it. I don't quite know where I stand on all this. All I know for sure is that these things are magnetically interesting. I doubt that I will be able to wait to read this. I mean, to read it critically with a pencil in hand, yes, but I don't know that I can leave this a Katrina novel about George W. Bush, a historical novel about the Bush White House. I don't know that I can leave that unread for the few months left in the year. I don't know, one way or another. It's a fascinating project. I should check on right here on YouTube and see if he has been interviewed and asked, what are you getting at? That's probably the easiest way to do it in the 21st century. All right, so let's move on here. What have we got here, Bean? Huh? I notice you're losing interest faster and faster in each package, like a spoiled kid on Christmas morning. Let's I don't know how long that'll. Okay, this is also an October release. Oh my. This is The Wall of Birds. One planet, 243 families, 375 million years. Oh my. At 2,500 square feet, The Wall of Birds mural in the Cornell Lab of Ornithology is an epic work created by renowned artist Jane Kim over a span of 3 years. It is the only mural in the world that depicts representatives from all 243 families of modern birds, ranging from the tiniest hummingbirds to the enormous ancestors of today's birds. In this book, Kim, along with Thayer Walker, offers a tour of the mural in book form, a stunning combination of design and natural science. Wow. Okay, and I have never seen The Wall of Birds at Cornell. So this is the closest that I will probably ever come to that. This comes out in the end of October. So what is this going to be? Wow. Okay. So this gives you details from The Wall of Birds, and probably lots of information on how individual representatives were chosen. Yeah, details. Look at that. This is just going to be the story not only of The Wall of Birds, but of birds. Just in general. Wow. Okay. Incredible. All right. Look at that. Gives you their area of distribution as well. This is a weird bird book. This is going to be a lot of fun. Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Well, that is squeal-worthy. And that's October. All right. On we go here. Although the Thomas Mallon, in his own way, is squeal-worthy as well. I don't know. Part of me tends to think, it hasn't been long enough to write a historical novel about the Bush administration. Maybe it's certainly plenty of time has passed to write novels about Katrina, and I've read a couple of really good ones, but what's that? Oh. All right, what have we got here? Oh, fantastic. Okay, I requested this. This comes out, I think, next year. Yeah, this comes out next year. This is by Lars Kepler, the writing team that wrote The Sandman. And this one's called Stalker. And it comes out in February. Stockholm, Sweden. It's an ordinary day at work for Detective Margot Silverman of the Swedish National Crime Unit. That is, until a colleague comes by Margot's office with a bizarre update. Their office has been sent a link to a YouTube video of a young woman in her home, unaware she is being filmed. But what at first seems to be an odd and disturbing prank soon takes a turn for the sinister. The horrifically mutilated body of a woman is found not long after the video surfaces, and Margot begins to fear the worst. Because that body, it's the corpse of the woman from the video. And that's just the beginning. And the reason that I requested this is partially a guilty conscience, because of a weird quality that I've talked about before when it comes to fiction. Which is that I read Sandman, and I thought it was tremendously effective as a thriller. Just, you know that from the first chapter, and it just keeps getting better and better. But I didn't do anything with it. I read it and enjoyed it, but I didn't do anything with it. And that is not how my job is supposed to work. You might say, well, aren't you limited? You can't review everything. You're right. I can't review everything. And on top of that, I also face you might think I face limitations that a lot of my fellow reviewers face, which is, even if you read a book and really like it, you might not find a venue for a review. But I don't have that limitation because I have my own venue. I have Open Letters Review, the new iteration of Open Letters Monthly, that has a long history and is a fine place to review new stuff. It operates on the premise that no one actually hangs around at a website anyway, unless it's social media, unless it's Twitter or Instagram. Instead, if you're posting regular reviews on a literary site, the philosophy here is that you go to the reader instead of expecting the reader to come to you. I think in 2018, we're kind of past the idea of bookmarking a website. Instead, we expect to find a link to whatever you say is of interest on social media. That's kind of the idea behind Open Letters Review, behind Open Letters as it is now. And I review things there, and those reviews get passed around, they get read, they get used, they get quoted. So I didn't do that with Sandman. It impressed me, and I didn't do that. And that means that Stalker has, in addition to me wanting to read it because this writing duo has already proved themselves to me, there's also a tiny little frisson of guilt because I let that one go by. I'll have to hope that the publisher sends me the paperback release of Sandman, so that I can note it too, in addition to reviewing this thing. That sounds really good, but Sandman was the same way. It was just totally effective. So. So this is all part and parcel of the reviewing game, I guess. If you're me, you really do regret the ones that you let float by the plate. You want to make up for that. I try to be in as many conversations as I possibly can, just so that I don't feel that, and also so that the good books get the notice they deserve. But every once in a while, I mean, it happens probably 24 times a year. Something will get by me. And I ought to make a new category at my year-end roundup of yearly regrets of things that I missed. But you never know. Sometimes you need months to tell what book is going to be on your mind that you didn't expect would be on your mind. Sometimes you need months for that to be true. I look over, at the end of the year, every year, I look over a huge collection of the titles and covers of all the books that have come out that year, and like I said, at least a couple of dozen times I look at something and say, okay, that has really stuck with me, but I gave it no notice at the time, and that was bad. Maybe that's endemic, maybe there's no way to avoid it, but still, the Sandman sticks in my mind as a recent example of that, so I'm glad I have Stalker for next year. Let's see here, we're getting towards the end here. This one feels heavy, so this could be a finished copy. Ooh. Oh, let's see if we can see that. Oh, give it another thrash, Bean. It's not quite dead. I tell you, I could watch that all day. She loves it so much. And I got so many nice messages from so many of you saying that the video that I made yesterday that was just her, that was the whole purpose was just to put her in front of the camera so you could look at her face. How many of you loved that? I got so many emails from people saying, you just don't know what kind of a bad day I had. You just don't know what kind of a bad day I was facing. And then I had this little video, and it was so wonderful. Thank you. That was very touching. This is unlike my sweet old girls who you all met when they were old. This dog's actually growing up on BookTube. It's kind of strange. Anyway, what have we got here? Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my. Okay. Oh, my. Okay. There's no pub sheet for this, but that's okay. I don't really need one. I needed this finished copy. This is something... Okay, look at the size of this thing. This is the William Gass Reader. A lovely designed thing from Knopf. It's got the deckled pages and this is this is a huge collection of the writings of William Gass, who, you know, the literati among you will know his name. He is one of the last of the obscure, difficult, recondite authors. One of the last of the big name authors who most certainly was not driven by commercial needs at all in what he wrote. And a couple of friends of mine who are book reviewers, same as me. This comes out in November, and I think it comes out in November, and a couple of book reviewers that I know are writing about this. It's catnip to book reviewers. This kind of an author is catnip to book reviewers, and. The minute that I heard that some of them were writing about this book, I wanted to do it myself for something other than Open Letters Review. I wanted to do it for a much larger audience. And with some strategic begging and pleading, I managed to swing that. So I am reviewing this, and oh God, I don't know what well, you know, you shoot for the stars when you beg and plead for something like this. I want to be part of this conversation. I have been poring over my this thing here. I've been poring over my advance copy and wishing that I had the finished copy, something sturdier. I wonder if this has an index. Probably it doesn't. If it's gas, it probably doesn't. No, it doesn't have an index. So there isn't any structural superiority of this thing over the other. It's just that this is a little more durable. That the paperback was kind of falling apart, and I plan on reading this until it falls apart because I want to do justice to this book when I review it. So here it is. Here it is. Talk about a kick in the keister. Okay, this has actually let me tell you about it. This is a grand selection of the work of William Gass, chosen by him for more than 4 decades, a lifetime of work, with selections from his 10 books of essays and criticism on writing, art, architecture, photography, philosophy, and history. From his 3 books of short stories, his novellas, and from his 3 bold and masterful novels, Almost Setter's Luck, The Tunnel, and Middle Sea. It begins with his essays, in which Gass looks back at varying points in his writing life and at those writers from Hobbes to Joyce to James to Beckett to Stein to William Gaddis, with whom he was often confused, whose work he found inspiring, and at those whose work he explores and embraces. He writes on Plato, whose dialogues Gass sees as among the world's most magical texts, on Virginia Woolf's diaries, on Ford Madox Ford's Parade's End, on Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain, on Flaubert's letters, on Henry James's notebooks. He writes on Pound, Nabokov, Celine, Tanizaki, Borges, Whitman, Kafka, and many more. And this includes just everything. It spans his body of work, which is enormous and incredibly impressive. So I have 1,000 words. We'll see what I can do. At least I'm in the game now. So I will be, unfortunately, I already know, and that's all right. I've made my peace with it. I will be outwritten on this book in many different places. I have a feeling this is going to get reviewed everywhere. every review section of every magazine and newspaper that's lucky enough to have a genuinely woolly-brained genius reviewer, and there's almost one at every venue I can think of. At least some have more than one. Every venue that has one of those is going to hand them this, and that person is going to go to town on it. So I am going to be intellectually outclassed in the raft of reviews that I think are coming for this thing. And we shall see how I stack up. I won't be able to match the mental wattage of my peers, but I'll try and contribute something. We shall see. Then we've got this last one. We'll be done for now. This is the morning's mail haul, so there could easily be another mail delivery. This is the last of our packages. No boxes this time around, and my schnauzer's a little tuckered, so she might not feel like getting up for this. No, you don't feel like getting up. Oh, she's not even biting on it. She's just pooped. Can you see her? She's just pooped. Look at that. She's not even standing up. Oh, there you go. Boy, they don't make miniature schnauzers like they used to. So what have we got here? Oh, boy. Okay, all right. This is, I think, next year. Yeah, this is next year. Okay, this is by David Truer, and it is The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, Native America from 1890 to the present. Big history book coming out next year. Almost from the moment it occurred, the 1890 massacre at Wounded Knee Creek in the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota was cast in the popular imagination as a point of no return, at which not only did hundreds of Lakota men, women, and children perish, but so, in a sense, did Native American life itself. The romantic idea of a once noble race doomed to oblivion crystallized into gospel over the decades and was further cemented by D. Brown's best-selling 1970 book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Now David Truer, the critically acclaimed writer, anthropologist, and journalist, himself Ojibwe from Leech Lake Reservation in northern Minnesota, brings to that mythology its long-overdue reckoning. This book is a landmark, a powerfully illuminating counter-narrative that dispels the misconceptions of Indian history as unmitigated tragedy. Truer traces the rich, resilient, and multidimensional story that Native people have been living over the past century and adds new chapters to the story of American Indian creativity and resilience in modern times. Wounded Knee was indisputably a devastating low point, but seen clearly it is only one of many challenges to which Indian people have risen tirelessly and with ingenuity since first contact. This book makes visible their accomplishments and the full scope of their largely unrecognized lives. That almost makes it sound like this is going to be somewhat optimistic. Wouldn't think that would be possible. That's okay, well, this comes out next year. Well, it's an obvious callback to Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, which is an amazing book. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee and Custer Died for Your Sins are two must-reads. Also, Dale Van Every, who wrote a lot of historical novels about the American West, also wrote a book called Disinherited about the relations between the U.S. government and various Native American tribes that is very much worth reading. I don't know, probably it's not in print and never will be in print again, but Disinherited is great. Brims with rage on every page. This, I don't know what to expect. I will get to it as soon as the new year. So that is it. That is our day's first, perhaps only mail haul. We'll see what comes later on. So we have The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee. We have the William Gass Reader. Oh my God. I am looking forward to it. I shouldn't make it sound so pretentious. I am looking forward to it. I have read it from beginning to end, and I have studied certain parts of it. But there's a certain, oh my God, extra flavor to a book when it's this complicated and you know that you're going to be responsible for it in front of an audience of several dozen thousand people. You look at a venue where you're going to do that, and if you're historically minded like I am, you immediately look at all the people who have published in that venue in the past, and you start to think, oh, I will do my best. I will do my best. We shall see. Then Stalker by Lars Kepler, a thriller follow-up to Sandman, which was tremendously good. So I get it. The one thing that I didn't mention in that little hand-reading fest earlier in this video was to recommend Sandman to you wholeheartedly, even the hardcover. It's a tremendously effective thriller. Then, I'm going to leave that one because it's so big. Then Landfall by Thomas Mallon, a novel about George W. Bush's administration and its response to Katrina and, I imagine, the Iraq War. The Evergreen Tidings from the Bomb Gardeners. It sounds like a lot of fun. I will get to read it. I will read it tonight, so I will know. And last, but certainly not least, The Wall of Birds. A book about Cornell's legendary Wall of Birds. The Wall of Birds distilled into book form. How much fun is that? So that's a nice variety to start us off. I will wrap this up because this has, of course, gone long again, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.